Some wonder kids have talent in abundance. They have the world as their oyster and look set to become the next big superstars. Sometimes these rising stars go on to be up there with the greats, but sometimes they quickly burn out and don't match up to the hype. Today we find out what happened to hot prospect Dele Alli and why his mentality made his career take a turn for the worst. Stick around to see how a fallout with Jose Mourinho derailed his entire career. MK Don's hype. England are no strangers to a wonder kid. There always seems to be a star boy stealing headlines, and Dele Alli became football's sweetheart in 2012. The next big thing debuted for his boyhood side, MK Dons, after coming up through their academy. He broke into the first team over the 13-14 season and refused to look back after that. But what separated Dele from other talented teenagers was how comfortable he looked. He was ridiculously composed at his young age. In the box, he played like a striker, pouncing on the ball and somehow weaving past all of his markers. Outside of the box, he played like a midfielder, fast, fluid, with twinkle toes on the ball. Alli quickly picked up media attention for his versatility, pace, and goal-scoring prowess. He was a shadow striker rarely seen in the lower levels of English football, and possessed all of the qualities needed to play both up front and deeper in midfield. It came as a surprise to nobody when Tottenham started knocking on the door in 2015. Move to Spurs. Deadline day February 2015, and Dele was in the door at Enfield. He signed for Spurs for £5 million, debuting a year later after being sent back out on loan, and when he debuted, he blew the league away. Alli hadn't lost a beat since his MK Dons days and adapted to the top flight almost instantaneously. He scored 5 goals and made 3 assists in his first 18 league matches. A wonder goal that we've already covered came later in a game against Crystal Palace. Dele smashed home a 25-yard volley into the top corner with one of the best goals in Premier League history. He won PFA Young Player of the Year that season and could do no wrong. His form continued to burn bright heading into his second Prem campaign. He bagged 3 consecutive braces against Southampton, Watford and Chelsea with some yearbook-worthy goals to boot. Consistent performances at a top level earned him the title of PFA Young Player of the Year for the second season running. Dele was also named in the PFA Team of the Year that season. He continued to set the league alight and eventually captained Spurs for a couple of games in the 18-19 season. By now, he'd become a key figure in Gareth Southgate's England setup. He was selected in the 23-man squad for that iconic 2018 World Cup run. Dele scored in the quarters against Sweden in a 2-0 win, taking England to the semi-finals for the first time in 28 years. He also played in the semis match against Croatia, winning the free kick that Trippier scored to take the lead, and had the whole nation belting out 3 Lions before losing 2-1 in heartbreaking fashion. For his efforts both domestically and internationally, he was rewarded with a 6-year contract in October 2018. Falling out with Jose. But unfortunately, this new contract seemed to be a kiss of death for Dele's career. He didn't do much until January 2019, where he was sidelined for months with a hamstring injury. It kept him out of the team for the beginning of the 19-20 season, where longtime supporter Pochettino was dismissed and replaced with serial winner Jose Mourinho. The new Spurs boss was immediately on Dele's case. Jose eased him back into the team as a shadow striker, and Dele played just behind Harry Kane. His creative spark was reignited, and he looked more like the Dele we knew at MK Dons. He was fast on the ball and played forward, unafraid to try a daring pass behind enemy lines. But Dele was a notoriously lazy trainer, a trait that wouldn't sit well with Jose Mourinho. It didn't take long for the boss to pull Dele out of the team. Mourinho publicly attacked Dele's ethic towards training, telling him he wasn't putting in enough effort in their sessions. He berated him in front of his teammates, as shown in Amazon's All or Nothing documentary, before taking him for a one-to-one chat. The Portuguese manager told the midfielder that he reminded him of himself when he was younger, and that he was worried that Dele wouldn't live up to his potential if he didn't try harder. Jose was a visionary. The midfielder was lazy and didn't pick up his game. He didn't seem to sprint in games and never looked like he was putting in the same effort that his teammates were providing. His performances, in turn, took a dip, and Dele was left out of the England squad in October 2019. He's yet to make it back since, and he just couldn't seem to shake the mentality. The midfielder continued to lack the effort needed. Insult to injury came as he was cast out of the Spurs setup in the 2020-21 season, in one last warning that his puny psychology would be punished. He didn't keep up with his teammates in training and was called a lazy bastard by Jose in a public press match conference. Dele started just 7 Premier League games that season after being a stalwart in the squad in previous years. Alli had a season to forget, playing 15 Premier League games in total and scoring a whopping 0 goals. It took him well over a year to secure a domestic strike after last scoring in March 2020. He finally got one the next season in August 2021, scoring against Wolves as he looked to get back into the side under a new manager. But coaches didn't last long at Tottenham, and even with Antonio Conte taking over in November that year, Alli remained a fringe player. He couldn't earn himself a starting spot, and Conte too wouldn't put up with his laziness. Dele was too lethargic for his own good, which gave the new boss no choice but to make him available for transfer in January 2022. Move to Everton. This should have been a wake-up call for a sleeping giant like Dele. A move to a new Premier League club was a chance for a fresh start, and he could hit the ground running once more like he did when he first arrived at Spurs. Or at least, that would have been the fairy tale's happy ending. Alli moved to Everton on deadline day in January 2022 in a free transfer. It could have risen to 40 million if certain benchmarks were met, but the final fee was nowhere near that figure. He made his debut on February 8th as a late substitute in a 3-1 loss against Newcastle United. Alli offered little to nothing in this game, and it quickly became a trend for his time at Everton. He clearly didn't impress new boss Frank Lampard in training. Despite citing Lampard as a major reason for joining Everton, the ex-Chelsea legend failed to trust his new star man. Alli made 11 appearances and only 1 start in the 2021-22 season, not scoring or assisting in any of these games. That creative spark had fizzled out, burning Wimperly to a crisp. Loan to Beşiktaş. With Lampard still at the helm for the 22-23 season, Alli was quickly shifted out of the door. Once again, Alli was given a second chance at taking the football's world by storm. It was more of a third time's the charm situation, as new life was breathed into his career with a loan move to Beşiktaş. The Turkish club had an option to buy, and Alli immediately felt at home as the Ultras took him in with open arms. Supporters welcomed him at the airport as he landed in Istanbul, and he was quoted to call the passion surrounding the club amazing. The fanfare paid off and flared into fast results. Alli scored in his second appearance for the club, which was his first registered goal in well over a year. While his form may have faded years ago now, Alli really does seem to be drinking at the Last Chance saloon. The bar is almost calling for last orders as he sits with his cocktail of crazy fans and rough away days. But now is the time to return back to life before time is called early on his career. Another England call-up seems years away, but if he can find form now, who knows? Maybe we'll see this hot prospect back in the Premier League soon. But if recent seasons are anything to go by, he's more likely to send his own career up in flames before we see him kicking another night flight.